We've got breaking news to bring you. Kieran Trippier has retired from international football. England have released this statement announcing his retirement. Thank you for everything, Trips, they've said. And this is what Trippier has said. I never thought as a young lad from Bury that I would play for my country, let alone achieve 54 caps. It's been one of the biggest honours of my life to represent my country at 4 major tournaments. I want to say a big thank you to Gareth and all the staff that have worked with the England squad for the trust they have placed in me throughout the years. Thank you to all my teammates. We have had some very special moments, reaching 2 Euro finals and a World Cup semi-final, and I am sure in the future this group of players will win a major tournament. I want to wish Lee, the coaching staff and the team all the best for the future. And finally, a big thank you to all the England fans for your incredible support, travelling all over the world to support us and keeping us going in the difficult moments. Kieran Trippier retiring from international football. Let's get live straight now to get more on this with our senior reporter, Rob Dorset, who is at St George's Park. Has this come as a surprise, Rob?
Yes, I think it has, Bella. I think you have to say it is a real surprise because Kieran Trippier is one of the most proud Englishmen you could ever meet. When you heard from his statement there just what it meant to him to play for his country and win an extraordinary 54 caps. And he loved every minute of being a part of that squad and playing for his country. And bear in mind that for a big chunk of those 54 caps, he played out of position. Gareth Southgate had real problems with injuries at left-back in the last 2 tournaments at the Euros and the World Cup in Qatar, and it was Kieran Trippier he called on to play out of position at left-back. So that speaks volumes, I think, about the character of Kieran Trippier, that he was prepared and able to do a job as ably as he did for England in those 2 tournaments. Despite playing out of position. So I think this will have been a difficult decision for him. But look, I know for a fact he was plagued by injuries in Germany in the Euros in the summer. And he's still trying to recover from those fully now and strengthen the body to a large extent. So maybe he's just taken the decision that it's difficult at the age he is now in his 30s to do it for his club and for his country. And of course his club future is a little bit in doubt right now, and a potential move away from Newcastle before tomorrow night's deadline as well. So you wonder how much all of that has played into his thinking. And of course it's the end of an era and the start of a new era in England terms, because Gareth Southgate, who absolutely rated Kieran Trippier incredibly highly, made him a big part of his plans, made him part of the leadership group for England's men's senior team as well, banked on his seniority and his reliability for so much of his time as England manager. That's now gone. It's Lee Carsley. I wonder, and we don't know, and we will ask Lee Carsley when we speak to him at 2 o'clock this afternoon, whether there's been a conversation between the interim England manager, Lee Carsley, and Kieran Trippier about how much he might feature in his plans going forward. No mention of that, of course, in Kieran Trippier's statement, but it is of the nature of these squad announcements that the players often don't know whether they're going to be included in the England squad until maybe an hour or 2 before it's made public. And if that happens at 2 o'clock, you just wonder whether there's been a conversation between Lee Carsley and Kieran Trippier where they've spoken, had heart-to-heart, if you like, and discussed it openly. And maybe that's why Kieran Trippier's statement has come out now. But all of that is for when we speak to Lee Carsley a little bit later on. Right now, I think we have to accentuate just what a stalwart Kieran Trippier has been for England for 4 major tournaments, how often he's played through the pain barrier, how often he's played out of position for his country because he's loved wearing that England shirt. And I don't think we should shy away from what a big decision this is for a very, very proud Englishman today.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it all there. What a career for England, Rob. How do you think he'll be regarded?
I think he'll be regarded with great affection by his teammates in that England squad. He was always very, very popular. From an FA perspective, he was always very, very good in interviews, knew the right things to say at the right time, even when there were difficult political questions. I go back to Qatar and all those conversations we had about human rights issues out in Qatar, and discussions about how the LGBTQ+ community was treated out there. Those questions were thrown at a lot of players, and Kieran Trippier was more than happy to discuss it and talk openly about it. He had a strength of character and a strength of belief and opinion, which he was never afraid to share with the media when he spoke in front of us. And we could throw anything at him, in truth. So he was very well liked by the media, incredibly popular within that England squad, and I think that will be really interesting when we speak to Lee Carsley a little bit later on to sort of get a sense of how this squad is going to change going forward. Is the absence of Kieran Trippier now from international football the start of maybe some of other senior England players deciding to call time on their international careers? Kyle Walker hasn't played for Manchester City yet this season. No suggestion that he's going to retire from international football, and I don't want to be hasting his retirement, because he's been another brilliant right back. I would suggest probably England's best right back ever in an England shirt. But some of those senior players, you just wonder whether they will, now that the management is changing, maybe consider their options and consider their futures. That's why this squad, when we hear it at 2 o'clock, will be really interesting. How much of a mark is Lee Carsley going to make? Now, I understand he will make some big decisions. He's not going to toe the party line. He's not going to follow exactly what Gareth Southgate did in terms of selections. He will put his stamp on it. Maybe he'll select some of the players that he knows very well from his time in charge of England's under-21s, and maybe that will make some of the big England players that we've got used to seeing in an England shirt consider their futures going forward. It's going to be a really interesting afternoon now, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the back of that big news of Kieran Trippier's retirement from international football, what will we hear from Lee Carsley and his plans for this England squad going forward into these Nations League games? Yeah,
absolutely. It's definitely got more interesting for sure. Just looking at the other side of it, Rob, with Trippier retiring, does that now give others an opportunity here?
It really does, and you've got to remember that Reece James is injured as well, the Chelsea right back. So at right back in particular, Lee Carsley has some questions to answer, doesn't he? We know that the full-back positions were a problem for Gareth Southgate at the Euros. So I think Rico Lewis and the form that he's shown for Manchester City at the start of this season means he's got a very good chance of being recalled to the England men's senior squad. And maybe Kieran Trippier's teammate, Tino Livramento, as another right-back option as well. Could he get a call-up? Having performed so well for the under-21s and playing for Newcastle ahead of Trippier at the start of this season. Of course, there's Trent Alexander-Arnold in the mix there as a right-back, and will he, having tried that experiment as central midfield at the Euros, drop back into the natural right-back position that he's been playing for Liverpool? You don't expect Lee Carsley to name 3 right-backs. So it's a complicated scenario that Lee Carsley is trying to juggle here. And it'll be really fascinating to see what he does. The spine of the team, Jordan Pickford, Harry Kane, etc., I think will be still there. There's no Jude Bellingham, of course. He's injured. So what does Carsley do? How much of a stamp is he going to put on this England squad? How much of a statement is he going to make in terms of new call-ups? I think it's going to be a really interesting squad when he names it at 2 o'clock. And we will, of course, bring you both the squad announcement when it happens at 2 o'clock and Lee Carsley's first press conference as that interim England manager straight after that 2 o'clock announcement.